Tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once, and Reynardo wasn't sure he really wanted to be Emperor. Why not capture the core of Skyripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god torn out by the Transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. "It's the core," said the stone anxiously. "Need to be dead. I will give you the power to do what you want." Why was he listening to a talking rock?
Ah, but the rock had a point. If the stone could truly turn him into a powerful warrior, he could defeat the Emperor with the very weapon the wicked old toad had sought for himself.
To be a hero, you had to sacrifice old friends sometimes, especially when they've become enemies.
As he placed the impossibly black crystal in his gauntlet, Reynardo had a sudden vision. Charred fields covered in dead ravens below a black sun.
Was it the time of the lost gods before the Transcendent Emperor? Was it the future? Feeding his soul, it whispered. Take the power. He could feel the stone's hunger for souls, its thirst for blood. All right, I get it. This was going to be interesting.
Ice walls only let you through if they knew you were cool. These things really slice like ham. See? With enough leverage, you could go anywhere. Zenobia was waiting for Reynardo. She was alone, confident as always. Fire danced at the tips of her claws.
Are you here to surrender? She seemed as cocksure as he felt. But she didn't know he had the stone. And I've missed you too, love. He chuckled.
She spotted the stone and bolted without another word.
Renata felt a little better.
He was more and more extraordinary.
Was that your shield?
The ravens on Zenobia's island were no match for Renato. They screamed as the stones sucked out their souls. And with each death, he felt stronger. Take the power, the stone told him. Finally, Renato caught up to her. He had never seen her scared before. At school, she'd been the determined, brave one. Now her eyes were wide, frightened. He didn't like seeing her this way. Kill her, whispered the stone. You cannot win your rebellion without it. Please. No, said Zenobia. Not that way. Oh, they had been so close once. Could he really feed her soul to his demonic gem? But if he spared her, he would not get the full power of the stone. Oh, how could he be the hero he wanted to be? With a flick of his wrist, he slashed Zenobia's throat. Her eyes widened even more. Then the light went out of them. Renato felt amazing. Power was rushing into him like water from a burst dam. Oh, such brilliance, exulted the Iblis stone. Tasty. Renato returned to the Farfarer and set a course for the Nexus. The Empire had a communication outpost there. He could call the Emperor directly. It was time to seize the outpost and let the Emperor know what he had done. The Nexus was beautiful. He'd never realized how beautiful. Everything glowed. The wind was so sweet. The sun so soft. The stones so warm. The black raven feathers. Black feathers. Suddenly, his eyes are filled with them. He's falling through smoke, under a dead sun. A voice calls him home. Is this a vision? Whose? Is this the time of the lost gods? Or the future? No matter. What mattered now was killing his way to the Imperial outpost, challenging the Emperor from there. Don't go away. What were these poles exactly? Parking meters from the time of the lost gods?
Oh, hey, there's a couple of red spots on your feathers. Oh, wait, not yet. Don't be shy. Up ahead was Lapino. What was he doing here?
Bernardo! Hey, buddy! Hey there, old buddy! Please don't kill me!
Why would I kill you? Asked Bernardo, although he had been thinking about it.
Well, you've become... look, I mean, no disrespect at all here. Kind of evil? Maybe you should, I don't know, go to the mountains to have a think? See if maybe you're sure the stone is not all that healthy a thing to keep?
I suppose you wanted, Bernardo said, and poked Lapino in the chest for emphasis. Oh, had he just killed Lapino? Oh, damn it. This was definitely better than pulling yourself up in a bucket.
Renato rampaged through the Imperial outpost like a water buffalo rampaging. At the last moment, he remembered not to kill the Far Speaker Toad. After all, he wanted a word with the Emperor.
But there was only silence. The Emperor was scared, like little girl.
Well, he would gather the rebel army and slaughter the Imperial fleet. Yes! Applauded the Iblistone. Tremendous. Then the Emperor would have to answer his Far Speaker, wouldn't he? Who are you? Asked a distant voice that sounded uncomfortably like Zenobia. What have you become? The mountains. Go to the mountains, urged another that sounded a bit like Lapino. What are you doing? Demanded the Iblistone. I need to think, Renato told it. You're not good at thinking, said the Iblistone. You're good at killing. It's what you do. It's your destiny. But he set sail for the mountains, where he could be alone with his thoughts. Why were there Raven Scouts here in the empty mountains? Was there nowhere he could find peace and quiet? There were other ravens here too. Shadowy ones, transparent, lining the path. Ghosts. They cawed as he passed, but they didn't try to stop him. Spectators. Had he really killed that many ravens?
What was really fun was hooking yourself onto a moving ship.
Then he saw her. Zenobia. She was a ghost too. She ran off when she saw him. How could a ghost be afraid? He followed her. He had to.
Oh, they really ought to put a railing on this thing, he thought.
Renato followed Zenobia's ghost. Had he gone mad, seeing ghosts? Was she running from him or leading him somewhere? He'd come here to be alone, but he'd never been less alone in his life. Every raven he had slain haunted these rocks. Was this who he was? A killer? He was terribly good at killing. He was an adventurer. Or was that just another word for killer? You kill, whispered the stone. It is what you must do. Embrace this destiny.
Here, fishy!
last, they had to bury him in a bucket. Actually, several buckets. Next time, bring more birds. It wasn't his fault. He looked so breakable. Tried to focus on the job he had to do. The rebellion. Wasn't there a battle coming soon? There'd be ravens to kill. Even an emperor. Such killing. Much wow. Ooh, he'd never been so excited.
At the end of the mountain path, Zenobia awaited him.
Why did you kill me? She said. I was your prisoner, and I loved you. I needed the power, he said. Haven't you heard? There's a war on.
Then what's your excuse for killing me?
Asked his old friend Lapino, stepping out of the shadows.
Because a filthy traitor?
Said Renato. Once, Lapino didn't reply. The demon has twisted you, said Zenobia. Abandon the stone. You've lost too much already. Her words bit deeper than any sword ever had. So he shook his head, and once again swung his blade through her and Lapino. It had to all mean something. If he gave up the stone now, he would have sacrificed Zenobia and Lapino for nothing.
So, Renato set course for the Imperial fleet, where he would end it all. The Emperor, the war, the madness. Renato boarded an Imperial ship. No one could stop him slashing his way towards the Emperor. Yes, that was right. To give up now would be to lose everything for nothing. But if he could liberate the land from the Mad Emperor, then he could give up the stone in peace. And those were absolutely his own thoughts, not the stone manipulating him, right?
Oh, yes, exulted the stone. Feel your power. We'll make history today. He could hear a tiny voice within him. Don't kill the Emperor. The stone will eat your soul. Was it madness? I have to kill the Emperor, he told himself. That's what it meant to be a hero. To do what had to be done, no matter how terrible the cost. Yes. And then you can have peace. Promised the stone.
The portal was heavily guarded. It must go someplace they really didn't want him to go.
Renato at hot potato.
Well, they really needed to redecorate anyway. felt like Tarzan.
Good thing Renato didn't have vertigo. The tiny voice, whatever it was silent. He couldn't see ghosts around him, but he could feel them. If he gave up now, they would be angry. They would have all died for nothing. Who could give up this kind of power? Could anyone? Oh, he was just a fox with a talent for swordplay. How had this burden come to him? The Emperor offered the sword. Yes, peace. That is what he wanted now. Very well named, weren't they? Soon he'd confront the Emperor. Funny that this whole war had come about because the Emperor feared death. And now it was coming for him. There was some sort of lesson there, wasn't there? The Emperor was cowering in front of his ship.
Please don't kill me.
Croaked Emperor Isengrim III.
Here, take the crown. I don't want it anymore.
You must kill him, or you got his troops. You must send assassins.
Please, have mercy. The rebellion is won. Or you could be emperor. I'll just go be a scientist, or minstrel, or sell gummy bears. Yeah, I promise not to bother you.
It's your moment.
With all the love he'd ever had for Zenobia, for Lupino, for the Kit Foxes he would never have, Renato raised his sword. And Renato plunged his sword into his own chest.
Yes. Wait. What?
Renato screamed as his life force ebbed into the stone and surged back into him, and ebbed out and surged back in. No! Screamed the stone. It began to heat up.
What have you done?
The stone began to glow. It became white hot. It became lava. Nice knowing you, said Renato, as the lava ran like butter. And he died. Renato stared at the book. He was still alive. Again. And still only flying away from burning Ubar. Had he lived that adventure? Or only dreamt it? Had he really died? It felt so real, not like a dream at all. And he'd lost again. Oh, he hated that. But he had made different choices. And he'd lost in a different way. It was the book, wasn't it? Oracles showed you your destiny. But this was showing him different ways he could die miserably. Thanks a bunch, book, he thought. But these were destinies that he did not have to fulfill. But he'd learned another true thing. The Iblis Stone was evil. It would try to corrupt anyone who used it. But that meant there must be a destiny where he survived and won, right? Otherwise, what was the point? And with that, the book's pages fluttered back once more to the beginning, and the clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Or so a scholar in the mountains had told him. Surely the weapon that banished the lost gods could defeat the Emperor. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis Stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lupino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens? The island was windswept desert. No one went there except ostriches and ostrich hunters. The Iblis Stone. It would whisper promises in his ear, offer him power for blood. But this time, Renato was sure he could master it. And so, Renato went ostrich hunting. Every child could sing verses about the Sky Ripper, but ancient codices held hints of other things. A stone.